Kexler's shop sat in the lower commercial ring of Nexus 7, a space station that floated between territories where no single species claimed control. The shop was small, crammed with salvaged parts, old navigation systems, and various pieces of technology that Kexler had collected over 20 years of trading. It wasn't much, but it was honest work, and Kexler preferred it that way. The Viridian merchant stood behind the counter, compound eyes scanning through inventory lists on a datapad. Kexler's exoskeleton was a dull green, marked with the patterns of age and hard work. Forearms moved with practiced efficiency, sorting through components while calculating profit margins. This was what Viridians did best: logic, mathematics, and profit. Emotions were inefficient. Sentiment was a waste of processing power. The station's alarm changed everything. Red lights flashed throughout the commercial ring. Kexler's antennae twitched as the emergency broadcast cut through every speaker. Attention all vessels. Human transport ship New Hope reports critical engine failure. 3,000 passengers aboard. Ship will enter radiation belt in 4 hours. Council session convened. Kexler returned to the inventory. Human problems were not Viridian problems. The humans were newcomers to galactic society. Barely 2 generations since first contact. They were emotional, illogical, and constantly making decisions based on feelings rather than facts. The Galactic Council would handle it. That's what councils did. 2 hours passed. The alarms continued. Kexler's shop had no customers. Everyone was watching the news feeds or participating in the council emergency session. Kexler finally pulled up the public feed. The New Hope hung in space, dead in the void. It was a colony transport, massive and ungainly, designed to carry families to new worlds. Through the viewport cameras, Kexler could see faces pressed against windows. Human faces. They looked afraid. The council was arguing. The Throgians insisted this wasn't their sector. The Mythilians claimed insufficient resources. The Prixian delegates stated flatly that humans needed to learn self-sufficiency, and that rescue would create dependency. On and on, species after species finding reasons why helping was someone else's responsibility. Kexler should have turned off the feed. Should have continued working. But then a small human face filled the screen. She was young, maybe 7 or 8 in human years. Her hair was dark and messy, and her eyes were red from crying. She held a stuffed animal, something soft and worn. Behind her, other children clustered together, and adults tried to maintain calm. "Please," the child said to the camera. "My name is Emma. We just want to get to our new home. Please help us, please." The feed cut back to the council. More arguing. More calculations about jurisdiction and resources and precedent. Kexler's mandibles clicked together in the Viridian expression of irritation. This was inefficient. 3,000 beings would die because no one wanted to spend resources. The mathematics was simple. The cost of rescue versus the political inconvenience of setting precedent. The council had already decided. They would let the humans drift into the radiation belt, express regret, and move on. Kexler looked at the inventory again. In the back room, secured in a climate-controlled case, was a Praxis 7 engine core. It was rare, valuable, and had taken Kexler 3 years to acquire. It was meant for sale to a collector, a transaction that would fund Kexler's retirement. The engine core was compatible with human ship designs. Humans based their technology on old Praxis systems they'd found in archaeological sites. It would work. The New Hope could be saved. Kexler ran the calculations 3 times. The profit loss was substantial. The risk of moving the core and installing it under emergency conditions was high. The chance of future compensation from humans, a species still establishing economic credibility, was uncertain at best. Every logical analysis said to stay out of it. Kexler's forearms remained motionless for a long moment. The child's face stayed in Kexler's memory, those human eyes filled with fear and hope. Inefficient, emotional reasoning. Exactly the kind of thinking Viridians trained themselves to avoid. Kexler opened a communication channel to the New Hope. The response was immediate and desperate. Captain Sarah Chen appeared on the screen, exhausted and tense. "This is New Hope. Please state your business." "This is Kexler, merchant of Nexus 7, Kexler said. "I possess a Praxis 7 engine core. It is compatible with your systems." The captain's face transformed. Hope replaced despair. "You're offering to sell it to us? We can arrange payment plans, collateral, whatever you need." "No," Kexler interrupted. I am providing it immediately. Send coordinates for docking approach. Providing? You mean donating? I mean your ship requires an engine core to survive. I have an engine core. The mathematics is simple. Kexler paused. Send your engineers to my dock. We have limited time. The captain stared at Kexler for a long moment, something wet forming in her eyes. Humans did that when they experienced strong emotions. They leaked water from their faces. Highly inefficient. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you so much. We have children on board, families. Yes, I saw the broadcast. Send your engineers. We must begin immediately. The next 3 hours were chaos. Kexler directed the removal of the engine core from its case, supervised the transport through the station's corridors, and then worked alongside human engineers to install it in the New Hope's dead engine room. The humans worked with desperate efficiency, their hands shaking but their focus absolute. Kexler had to admit grudgingly that humans were effective under pressure. They didn't panic. They didn't freeze. They just worked, each one trusting the others, moving like a single organism with multiple parts. The chief engineer was a woman named Maria Rodriguez. She had grease on her face and spoke in rapid technical terms that Kexler could follow. We're routing power now, she said. Core integration at 60%. 70. We're going to make it. Above them, through the ship's hull, the radiation belt glowed like angry fire. They had minutes, not hours. Core integrated, Maria shouted. Firing engines in 3, 2, 1. The New Hope shuddered. Lights flickered throughout the ship. Then the engines roared to life and the massive vessel began to move, slowly pulling away from the deadly radiation. Cheering erupted throughout the ship. Humans embraced each other, crying and laughing at the same time. Captain Chen's voice came over the speakers. All hands, we are clear. We are safe. Thanks to Kexler of Nexus 7, we are going to make it home. More cheering. Kexler stood in the engine room, surrounded by celebrating humans, and felt profoundly uncomfortable. This was too much emotion, too much noise. Kexler just wanted to return to the shop and resume normal business. Captain Chen found Kexler before departure. She took Kexler's upper right hand in both of hers, that water leaking from her eyes again. You saved 3,000 lives today. I don't know how we can ever repay you. Payment is not necessary, Kexler said. Consider it an investment in future trade relations. It's so much more than that, the captain said. You're a hero. Kexler's antennae flattened in discomfort. I am a merchant who made a suboptimal economic decision. Nothing more. But the captain smiled, and something in that smile made Kexler's processing centers register warning signals. We'll see about that. Humanity doesn't forget its friends, Kexler. The New Hope departed 6 hours later, its engines burning bright as it set course for the colony world of New Terra. Kexler watched it go from the shop's viewport, then returned to inventory management. The retirement fund was gone. The rare engine core was gone. But the shop was still there, and Kexler was still alive, and that was sufficient. The matter was closed, or so Kexler believed. 3 months passed before Kexler noticed the changes. At first, they were small things, easily dismissed as coincidence. A few more customers than usual. Better prices offered on trades. Nothing that triggered alarm in Kexler's logical processing. Then the packages started arriving. The first one appeared on a Tuesday, delivered by a human courier who smiled too widely and refused payment for shipping. Kexler opened the container to find strange items. Handcrafted objects made from wood and metal, photographs of human families, and letters written in multiple languages but all saying variations of the same thing. Thank you for saving us. Kexler filed the items in storage. Inefficient use of shipping resources, but humans were known for their emotional gestures. It meant nothing. The second package arrived the next day, and the third the day after that. By the end of the week, Kexler's storage room was filling with human artifacts. Children's drawings showing Kexler as a heroic figure, usually drawn much taller than Viridians actually were. Poems, songs recorded on data chips. A blanket knitted from something called wool, with Kexler's name woven into the pattern. This is excessive, Kexler muttered, examining a carved wooden statue that looked vaguely like a Viridian. The craftsmanship was crude, but the time investment had clearly been substantial. The transaction is complete. Gratitude has been expressed. This continuation serves no logical purpose, But the packages kept coming. Business began to change too. Human traders started appearing at the shop, sometimes traveling hours out of their way to visit Nexus 7. They asked for Kaxlar by name, offered favorable deals, and spread word that Kaxlar's shop had the best service in the sector. A Mathilian merchant named Zlorth stopped by, his tentacles curled in confusion. "What is happening, Kaxlar?" "Suddenly every human in the sector wants to know if I've been to your shop. They ask if you treated me fairly. It's very strange. I provided a service to humans," Kaxlar explained. "They are expressing gratitude. For 3 months, most species express gratitude once and move on." Kaxlar's mandibles clicked. Humans are not most species. That much was becoming clear. Kaxlar's profit margins had tripled. The shop that had barely sustained 1 Viridian now required Kaxlar to hire an assistant. A young Prixian named Tix took the job, attracted by the steady flow of customers. "You're famous," Tix said one day, organizing inventory with their delicate manipulators. "I heard about you at the Commercial Academy. The professor used your business as an example of how reputation affects economic outcomes. I am not famous. I am a merchant. You saved 3,000 humans. I provided an engine core." Tix made the Prixian sound for amusement. Humans tell the story differently. They say you sacrificed your retirement to save children you'd never met. That is an emotional interpretation of a simple transaction. But even as Kaxlar said it, the truth was becoming harder to deny. This wasn't simple gratitude. This was something else, something that didn't fit into Viridian understanding of economic relationships. The situation escalated when the delegation arrived. There were 5 of them, humans wearing formal clothing and carrying official documents. Captain Chen led them, looking healthier than she had during the crisis. She smiled when she saw Kaxlar. "Kaxlar, it's wonderful to see you again." "Captain Chen, how is New Terra?" "Thriving. Thanks to you, 3,000 colonists are building a new world." She gestured to the others. "This is Governor Martinez, Councilwoman Park, and Representatives Lee and O'Brien. We've come with an official proposal." Kaxlar felt a warning tingle in processing centers. Official proposals meant complications. "What kind of proposal?" Governor Martinez stepped forward, a large human with gray hair and weathered skin. "The people of New Terra want to offer you honorary citizenship. You would have full rights and privileges, including land grants and—" "No," Kaxlar interrupted. The humans blinked. "No, I am Viridian. My citizenship is registered with the Viridian Collective. I do not require additional citizenship, but we want to honor you," Councilwoman Park said. "You saved our families. You have honored me, extensively." Kaxlar gestured to the storage room, now overflowing with gifts. "I appreciate the sentiment, but the matter is closed." It was merely a transaction. The humans exchanged glances. Something passed between them. Some unspoken communication that humans seemed capable of without technology. Captain Chen smiled again, and that smile still triggered warning signals. "Very well," she said. "We understand. But Kaxlar, know that New Terra's doors are always open to you. You're family now, family." Another human concept that didn't translate well to Viridian logic. Family implied permanent bonds, ongoing obligations, connections that persisted across time. Kaxlar was not family. Kaxlar was a merchant who had made one decision. But the humans left smiling, and that worried Kaxlar more than argument would have. The next incident happened 2 weeks later. A Throgian pirate named Grix entered the shop after hours, weapons visible. Throgians were large, aggressive, and known for robbing soft targets in neutral zones. "Viridian," Grix growled. "I hear your shop is very profitable now." "You will share those profits," Kaxlar calculated. Fighting was not an option. Grix outweighed Kaxlar by a factor of 4. Calling station security would take too long. The logical choice was to provide access to the safe and minimize damage. Kaxlar reached for the safe controls. Then the shop door opened. 3 humans entered. They wore civilian clothing but moved like soldiers. They were not large by Throgian standards, but something about them made Grix step backward. "Evening, Kaxlar," the lead human said. Her name was Jackson. Kaxlar had sold her some navigation equipment last week. "Everything okay here?" "This doesn't concern humans," Grix snarled. Jackson smiled. It was not a friendly expression. "Funny thing, Kaxlar is a friend of humanity. That makes everything concerning Kaxlar our business. I will file complaint with station security." "You do that." another human said, moving to flank Grix. After you explain why you're in a closed shop carrying illegal weapons, we'll wait right here with you for security to arrive. Grix looked at the three humans, then at Kexlar, then back to the humans. Whatever calculations ran through the Throgian's head, they concluded in retreat. Grix left quickly, weapons holstered. Jackson turned to Kexlar. You should upgrade your security system. I know a guy who does good work, reasonable prices. Friend of my cousin's, she was on the New Hope. You were protecting me? We look after our friends, Jackson said simply. You saved 3,000 of us. That includes my sister and her kids. As far as I'm concerned, you're under human protection now. I did not request protection. Doesn't matter. You've got it anyway. Jackson tapped her communicator. Station Patrol, this is Jackson. Attempted robbery at Kexlar's shop. Suspect fled toward Dock 23. You might want to check his ship for illegal weapons. After the humans left, Kexlar stood alone in the shop, processing centers working overtime. This was not normal. This was not standard economic interaction. This was something the Viridian educational system had not prepared Kexlar for. Kexlar opened a communication channel to New Terra. Captain Chen answered within moments. Kexlar, what a pleasant surprise. Captain Chen, I must request that these expressions of gratitude cease. They are creating complications. The captain's face showed that strange expression humans made when they found something funny. Complications? Your people are giving me gifts, offering citizenship, providing protection I did not request. This is excessive. Excessive? Captain Chen's expression softened. Kessler, you saved 3,000 lives. 3,000 families exist because you made a choice. Do you understand what that means to us? It was one action, one transaction. It is complete. For you, maybe. For us, she shook her head. You haven't seen anything yet. We're just getting started. The communication ended. Kexler stood in the quiet shop, surrounded by gifts and drawings and letters, and felt something unfamiliar. Dread. That night, Kexler researched human cultural concepts, loyalty, honor debts. The phrase, never forget. What Kexlar discovered made the dread increase. Humans, it appeared, did not view gratitude as a finite transaction. They viewed it as an ongoing commitment. They remembered across generations. They told stories about those who helped them, and those stories became legends, and legends shaped behavior for centuries. Kexlar had saved 3,000 humans, and now Kexlar was beginning to understand what that truly meant. 1 year after saving the New Hope, Kexlar's life had transformed in ways that defied all logical prediction. The shop was no longer simply a shop. It had become a landmark, a destination, a symbol. Ships traveling through the sector made detours to visit. Not just human ships, though humans came in steady streams. Other species came too, because they had learned a fundamental truth. Humans favored those who treated Kexlar well. The statue arrived on a Tuesday morning. Kexlar was reviewing supply contracts when ticks rushed in, all their Prixian manipulators quivering with excitement. Boss, you need to see the news feed. Right now. The image showed New Terra's capital city. In the central plaza, where millions of colonists would see it every day, stood a statue 50 feet tall. It depicted a Viridian in a heroic pose, holding an engine core like ancient human warriors held swords. The detail was remarkable. Every segment of exoskeleton, every antenna, rendered in bronze and steel. The plaque read, Kexlar, Savior of the New Hope. When the galaxy turned away, one soul chose compassion. 3,000 families honor your name forever. Kexlar's compound eyes stared at the screen. That is excessive. Excessive? Tix's voice climbed an octave. They made you a monument. Do you know what this means for business? What it meant became clear within days. Human corporations sent representatives offering exclusive contracts. Earth's government issued Kexlar a special passport granting free passage through all human-controlled space. A human merchant guild offered Kexlar membership with no fees, an honor previously limited to humans. But the most disturbing development was the bodyguards. Kexlar noticed them on the third day. 4 humans wearing civilian clothes but carrying themselves with military precision. They maintained positions around the shop, watching everyone who entered and exited. They were polite, professional, and completely refused to leave. Kexlar confronted them during a quiet afternoon. The leader, a scarred human named Sergeant Okonkwo, met Kaxlar's gaze without flinching. "Why are you here?" Kaxlar demanded. "Protection detail, sir." "I did not hire protection." "No, sir, you didn't. We volunteered." "Then I must ask you to leave. Your presence is unnecessary." Okonkwo's face showed that stubborn expression humans made when they had decided something. "With respect, sir, that's not going to happen. My daughter was on the New Hope. She was 6 years old. Because of you, she's now 7 and learning to read. I will protect you until the day I die." That is an emotional response, not a logical one. "Yes, sir, it is. That's what makes us human." Okonkwo crossed his arms. "You saved our families. We protect ours. You're ours now, whether you like it or not." The other 3 guards nodded. One of them, a young woman named Chen, no relation to the captain, she'd explained, had lost her parents years ago. The New Hope had been carrying her sister's family, the only relatives she had left. She'd taken a leave from the military specifically to serve on Kaxlar's protection detail. "Forever," she said simply, when Kaxlar questioned her commitment. "You gave my family a future. I give you my service. Fair trade." It was not logical. It was not economically sound. But it was absolutely, completely permanent. The economic impact continued to escalate. Kaxlar's shop expanded into 3 adjacent spaces. The staff grew to 12 employees from 7 different species. Revenue increased by 400%. The Viridian Commerce Collective sent an inspector to investigate these unprecedented profit margins. Inspector Vexnall arrived with files and scanning equipment, antennae twitching with suspicion. "This is highly irregular," Vexnall said, examining financial records. "These profit levels suggest illegal activity or accounting fraud. All transactions are documented and legal," Kaxlar said. "Then explain how a mid-level salvage operation suddenly becomes one of the most profitable businesses in the sector. Humans prefer to conduct business here." "Why?" "Because I saved 3,000 of them." Vexnall's antennae flattened in the Viridian expression of disbelief. "That was a year ago. Gratitude expressions typically last 1 to 3 months across all known species. This is abnormal. Humans are abnormal." That much was undeniable. The inspector spent 3 days reviewing every transaction and found nothing illegal. Just hundreds of humans and human-affiliated businesses choosing to trade with Kaxlar, regardless of minor price differences or inconvenience. They paid fair prices, sometimes more than fair. They recommended the shop to others. They protected Kaxlar's reputation with fierce loyalty. "This defies economic modeling," Vexnall concluded. "I will report this phenomenon to the collective. You may have discovered a new form of market manipulation. It is not manipulation. It is gratitude. Gratitude does not scale this way, but it did." The humans had declared a holiday, Kaxlar Day, celebrated on New Terra every year on the anniversary of the rescue. Schools taught children about cross-species compassion. Universities offered scholarships in Kaxlar's name. Artists created paintings, musicians wrote songs, and authors included Kaxlar in their stories. Kaxlar received invitations to speak at conferences, attend ceremonies, and accept awards. Each invitation came with humans who had been aboard the New Hope, or their children or their friends, all wanting to meet the Viridian who had saved them. Kaxlar accepted some invitations and declined others, but declining became increasingly difficult. When Kaxlar refused to attend a ceremony honoring the rescue, the humans sent a recorded message from little Emma, the child who had made the first plea. She was older now, no longer crying but smiling. "Mr. Kaxlar, I'm 8 now. I'm learning science because I want to help people like you helped us. Thank you for letting me grow up. Please come visit us. We miss you." Kaxlar watched the message 3 times before finally booking transport to New Terra for the ceremony. The visit was overwhelming. Thousands of humans attended. They cheered when Kaxlar arrived. Children gave flowers and drawings. Adults shook Kaxlar's hands, all 4 of them, tears streaming down their faces. Governor Martinez made a speech. "1 year ago we faced death in the cold of space. One being chose to help us when no one else would. Kaxlar teaches us that compassion has no species boundary, that a single choice can change everything, and that we must always remember those who lift us up in our darkest hours." More cheering, more tears, more gratitude that refused to fade or diminish. That night, sitting in a guest house on New Terra, Kaxlar contacted the Viridian Collective. The connection reached Elder Tirxal, one of the collective's senior advisors. Elder, I need guidance. KXLR, we received Inspector Vexnall's report. Your situation is unprecedented. I saved humans once. They will not stop expressing gratitude. It has been a year. It is affecting my life, my business, my entire existence. Have they harmed you? No, they have helped me, protected me, honored me. But I did not ask for any of this. The Elder was silent for a long moment. You have discovered something the collective has not fully understood about humans. They do not view gratitude as we do. For Viridians, gratitude is a transaction. Service rendered, appreciation expressed, matter concluded. For humans, gratitude is a bond. It does not conclude. It grows. How do I stop it? You cannot. You saved 3,000 humans. Those humans have families, friends, communities. Each person you saved will tell their story. Their children will tell their children. In human culture, you are now part of their collective history. You are a legend. KXLR felt processing centers overload with the implications. I just wanted to run a shop, and you still can. But you must accept that you will do so as the Viridian who taught humanity that aliens could be heroes. This is permanent, KXLR. This is forever. The communication ended. Through the window, KXLR could see the statue in the plaza lit by spotlights. 50 feet of bronze declaring KXLR a savior. The humans had 3,000 reasons to remember, and humans, KXLR was learning, never forgot. 3 years after the rescue, KXLR discovered that being humanity's greatest friend came with a price that no calculation could have predicted. The crisis began with a transmission from the Viridian Collective. Elder Tirxal's image appeared on KXLR's private screen, antennae positioned in formal configuration. KXLR, the Collective requires your assistance. How may I serve, Elder? A territorial dispute has emerged. Human expansion in the Outer Rim conflicts with established Viridian mining operations. Negotiations have stalled. Both sides refuse to compromise, the Elder paused. The human delegation has requested you as mediator. They trust your judgment. KXLR's compound eyes dimmed. I am a merchant, not a diplomat. You are the being humans trust most in the galaxy. The Collective believes your influence could resolve this peacefully. The alternative is conflict neither species desires. After the Elder disconnected, KXLR sat in silence. The shop hummed with activity below, but up in the private quarters the weight of 3,000 lives saved pressed down like physical mass. The Viridian delegation arrived first. 5 officials from the Commerce Collective, led by Director Zexral. They were polite but direct. KXLR, the mining operations represent significant economic investment. The Collective cannot simply abandon them because humans want expansion. I understand. But you will support Viridian interests in mediation? Use your influence with humans to favor our position? KXLR's mandibles clicked. I will seek fair resolution. Fair? Zexral's antennae flattened. You are Viridian. Your loyalty should be clear. Or have you forgotten your people in favor of those who shower you with honors? The accusation stung. Other Viridians had whispered similar things. KXLR had become strange to them, contaminated by human emotion and sentiment. The successful shop, the human guards, the cross-species friendships, all of it marked KXLR as different, possibly compromised. The human delegation arrived the next day. Admiral Morrison led them, a military officer with gray hair and eyes that had seen combat. But she smiled when she saw KXLR, and that smile held genuine warmth. KXLR, thank you for agreeing to mediate. My son was on the New Hope. He's a father himself now. I have a granddaughter because of you. Admiral, I must be clear. I cannot simply favor human positions because of past events. We don't expect you to, she said. We expect you to be fair. That's why we asked for you. You're the one who taught us that compassion crosses species boundaries. You'll find the right answer. The pressure of their trust was almost unbearable. The mediation took place in a neutral conference room on Nexus 7. Viridians on one side, humans on the other, and KXLR in the middle. Both sides presented their cases with maps, surveys, and economic projections. The humans needed the territory for agricultural expansion. The Viridians had mining rights established decades earlier. Both sides were right. Both sides were wrong. There was no simple answer. During a recess, KXLR stood alone on an observation deck watching ships come and go. Captain Chen found KXLR there. She was a grandmother now, her hair silver. but she still carried herself with authority. Heavy burden? She asked. I do not know how to resolve this. Whatever I recommend, one side will feel betrayed. Maybe that's the point. How so? Chen looked out at the stars. 3 years ago, you made an impossible choice. You gave up everything to save strangers. Not because it was logical, but because it was right. Maybe this is the same. But what is right here? I see valid claims on both sides, and then maybe right isn't about sides. Maybe it's about finding a path where both species learn to live together. She put a hand on Kaxlar's carapace. You're not carrying this alone. We trust you. So do your people. Trust yourself. The mediation resumed. Kaxlar presented a proposal. Shared development. Humans would get 60% of the territory for agriculture. Viridians would retain key mining sites. And both species would collaborate on a joint research station. Neither side got everything, but both gained something. The Viridians were unhappy. This favors humans. The humans were unhappy. This limits our expansion, but both sides agreed. Not because they loved the solution, but because Kaxlar had proposed it. And both sides trusted Kaxlar to be fair even when fairness hurt. Afterward, Director Zexral approached Kaxlar privately. The collective is disappointed. We expected stronger support for Viridian interests. I provided fair mediation. You provided what humans wanted. They have changed you, Kaxlar. You are no longer truly Viridian. The words struck deep. Kaxlar had spent 3 years being honored by humans while becoming alien to the Viridian people. The isolation was profound. That evening, another ceremony was scheduled. This one was the 47th event honoring Kaxlar since the rescue. Kaxlar attended because refusing would disappoint thousands, but the weight of expectation grew heavier with each speech, each award, each tearful thank you. Governor Martinez gave the opening remarks. 3 years ago, Kaxlar showed us the meaning of sacrifice. Today we celebrate not just what was done, but who Kaxlar is. A being who puts others first, who bridges worlds, who teaches us all to be better. Applause thundered through the hall. Humans stood cheering, some crying. Children held signs with Kaxlar's name. The statue's image appeared on screens, a permanent reminder of that one choice. Something inside Kaxlar broke. Stop, Kaxlar said. The word came out quiet, but the microphone carried it across the hall. Silence fell. Please stop, Governor Martinez looked concerned. Kaxlar? Are you unwell? I am not your hero. The words spilled out, 3 years of pressure behind them. I am not a symbol. I am not a saint. I saved you because it was logical. Because I calculated future benefits. Because the mathematics balanced. I am not the being you think I am. The hall was absolutely silent. I did not sacrifice for strangers. I invested in potential trade partners. I did not show compassion. I made a business decision. Every day you honor me for something I am not, and I cannot carry this weight anymore. I am just a merchant who wanted to run a shop. Kaxlar's voice cracked on the last words. The pressure, the expectations, the constant gratitude. It all poured out in a confession that stripped away every bit of the legend humans had built. I am not your hero, Kaxlar repeated. I never was. In the silence that followed, Kaxlar waited for disappointment, anger, rejection. Instead, Dr. Sarah Chen, now grandmother to 3, walked onto the stage. She moved slowly, age taking its toll, but her eyes were clear. Kaxlar, she said gently, do you think we don't know that? What? You're a Viridian. Your species makes decisions based on logic and calculation. We've always known that. She smiled. But here's what matters. When every other species in the galaxy calculated that saving us wasn't worth the cost, you calculated differently. When the Council decided 3,000 human lives had no value, you found value in them. She gestured to the audience. Every person here exists because you made a choice. Yes, you used logic. Yes, you calculated benefits. But you chose to save strangers when no one else would. That's what makes you a hero, not the lack of calculation, but the calculation that included our lives as worth saving. Other voices joined hers. My daughter is alive because of you. My grandson starts school next month. I have a family because you decided we mattered. Chen continued. You say you invested in trade partners. Well, you were right. We are your partners now for life because that's what humans do. We honor debts. We remember. We protect our own. Her voice grew stronger. And you're ours, Kexlar. Not because you're perfect, but because when it mattered most, you were there. She pulled out a data pad. Do you know what we've been doing for 3 years? Every colonist from the New Hope contributes 1% of their income to a trust fund. It's in your name, designated for causes you choose. It's now worth 3.4 billion credits. Kexlar's processing centers froze. What? We don't forget debts. We don't believe in unpaid favors. This is humanity, Kexlar. You saved us. We save you back every day in every way we can. That's the deal. The audience erupted in applause again, but this time it felt different. Not worship of a perfect hero, but acknowledgement of a flawed being who had done something right. Kexlar stood on that stage, surrounded by gratitude that finally made sense. It wasn't about being perfect. It was about being present when it mattered. The weight didn't disappear. But for the first time, it felt like something Kexlar could carry. 5 years after saving the New Hope, Kexlar finally understood what humanity's gratitude truly meant. The shop had transformed beyond recognition. What started as a small salvage operation now occupied an entire deck of Nexus 7. The staff numbered 43 employees from 12 different species, all working together in ways that would have seemed impossible before. Humans worked beside Viridians, who worked beside Prixians, who worked beside Throgians. Species that typically avoided each other cooperated smoothly. Tix, now senior manager, often joked that the shop wasn't really a business anymore. It was an embassy disguised as commerce. Kexlar had stopped fighting the gratitude 2 years ago. After the breakdown at the ceremony, after Chen's revelation about the trust fund, something had shifted. The weight remained, but Kexlar had learned to redistribute it into something productive. The 3.4 billion credit trust fund, now grown to 4.1 billion, funded cross-species medical research. Kexlar directed investments into projects that benefited multiple civilizations, disease cures, emergency response systems, and educational programs. If humans insisted on giving Kexlar resources, Kexlar would use them to help others the way Kexlar had once helped them. The humans approved enthusiastically, but the true impact ran deeper than money or business. The 3,000 colonists saved from the New Hope had spread across human space, and each one carried the story. Their children learned it, their friends heard it, and the message replicated through human culture like a living thing. A human saved was a debt to be repaid. An alien who helped humanity became family. Compassion crossed species boundaries. The ripple effects were measurable. Viridian-human trade increased by 300%. Joint research programs proliferated. Immigration between species territories grew. Where humans and Viridians once viewed each other with suspicion, they now sought partnership. Kexlar received regular reports from sociologists studying the phenomenon. One researcher, Dr. Amari Williams, visited the shop to share her findings. "You've changed galactic culture," she said, showing graphs and data on her pad. Before the New Hope incident, humans were isolated, considered too emotional for serious partnership. Now we're embedded in the galactic economy, all because you demonstrated that species differences don't prevent cooperation. "I provided an engine core," Kexlar said, mandibles clicking in the Viridian version of amusement. "You are overstating my influence." "Am I?" Dr. Williams pulled up more data. 78 of the colonists you saved became xenobiologists, studying alien species to find ways to help them. 142 entered diplomatic services. 15 founded relief organizations. The children raised on New Terra have the highest rate of cross-species collaboration in human history. You didn't just save 3,000 lives, Kexlar. You shaped 3,000 futures. The data was undeniable. The people Kexlar saved had become bridges between worlds, and their children would continue that work for generations. Then came the day that tested everything. Warning alerts flashed across every screen in the sector. An armada of Krellix warships had entered the region, 40 vessels armed with weapons that could shatter planets. The Krellix were conquerors, ancient and powerful, and they had chosen this moment to expand their territory. Their first target was a cluster of Viridian mining worlds, colonies that held 60 million Viridians. The Galactic Council convened emergency sessions, but the Krellix ignored all diplomatic overtures. They would take what they wanted and no words would stop them. The Viridian Collective sent desperate calls for help. Most species offered sympathies, but no action. The Krellix were too powerful. The risk was too great. It was economically illogical to challenge them. Kexlar watched the news feeds in the shop, compound eyes tracking the Krellick's advance. 60 million Viridians would die. The mathematics was clear, unless someone intervened. Then the transmission came through. Fleet Admiral Morrison, now in command of humanity's Third Fleet, appeared on every human channel simultaneously. People of Earth, people of the colonies, we have received distress calls from Viridian worlds under attack. Some will ask why we should risk human lives for aliens. Let me tell you why. The image shifted to show an old photograph. The New Hope, dead in space. Radiation belt approaching. 5 years ago, when we faced death, one Viridian chose to save us. Kexlar didn't ask if we were worth saving, didn't calculate if we deserved help. Kexlar saw beings in danger and acted. That Viridian is family now, and family means we protect each other. More images, Kexlar's statue, ceremonies, the colonists building new Terra. The Viridians under attack are Kexlar's people. That makes them our people. Humanity does not abandon family. Third Fleet, Seventh Fleet, and Colonial Defense Forces are moving to assist. We will stand with our Viridian friends because that is what Kexlar taught us. Compassion crosses all boundaries. The transmission ended. Within hours, 73 human warships entered Viridian space. Kexlar watched in disbelief as human forces positioned themselves between the Krellick's armada and the mining worlds. They were outnumbered, outgunned. The logical analysis predicted catastrophic human losses, but they came anyway. The standoff lasted 3 days. The Krellick's demanded human withdrawal. Admiral Morrison refused. These are our allies. We don't abandon allies. Other species watched. The Prixians, seeing human commitment, sent 12 ships. The Throgians sent 8. Even the Mathilians, typically neutral, sent support vessels. None of them were intervening for the Viridians alone. They were intervening because humans had demonstrated that alliances meant something, that loyalty was real, and that standing with humanity meant humanity stood with you. The Krellick's calculated their odds. They faced not just humans, but a coalition, species working together because one Viridian had saved 3,000 humans 5 years ago. The mathematics of conquest had changed. The Krellick's withdrew. 60 million Viridians lived because humans remembered one choice. Kexlar received a transmission from Elder Tirksal. The old Viridian's antennae trembled with emotion, something Viridians rarely displayed. Kexlar, the collective owes you an apology. We thought your connection to humans made you less Viridian. We were wrong. You built bridges that saved our people. You are the greatest of us. I did nothing, Elder. I provided one engine core 5 years ago, and created a debt humanity would not forget. They risked everything for us because of you. That is worth more than all our mining operations combined. After the transmission ended, Kexlar sat in the quiet office, processing the events. One choice, one moment of deciding that lives had value. And from that single decision, ripples had spread across the galaxy, creating alliances, changing cultures, and ultimately saving 60 million beings. The shop door opened. A young human woman entered, perhaps 20 years old. She looked around with wide eyes, taking in the busy operation. "Can I help you?" Tix asked. "I'm looking for Kexlar. My grandmother was on the New Hope." Kexlar emerged from the office. "I am Kexlar." The young woman's eyes filled with tears. "My grandmother is Sarah Chen. She talks about you all the time. She told me I should visit, should thank you myself." She wiped her eyes. "I'm starting medical school next month. Xenobiology, specializing in Viridian physiology. I want to help people the way you helped us. You were not born when I helped the New Hope. No, but I exist because you did. My mother was 6 years old on that ship. She grew up, had me, and taught me that we help others because someone once helped us." She smiled. "I'm Sarah Chen III. My grandmother named me after herself so I'd always remember our family's debt." Kexlar looked at this young human, the granddaughter of the captain, preparing to dedicate her life to helping Viridians because of one choice made before she was born. "Tell me about your grandmother," Kexlar said. They sat together, human and Viridian, surrounded by the shop that had become a bridge between species. Sarah told stories about her family, about growing up on New Terra, about learning from a young age that their lives were a gift from someone who had no obligation to give it. Outside, ships came and went. Humans and Viridians worked together, traded together, protected each other, all because 3,000 people remembered and taught their children to remember. And those children taught their children, cakes. Lar had performed one noble deed for humanity and discovered that the impact of their gratitude wasn't a burden at all. It was a legacy that would outlive them all, making the galaxy a little bit better, one remembered kindness at a time.